All right, now we'll be back from the break. Let's get going with more business today. And all right, now this time around we're looking at reviving the art industry. The potential of the cultural and creative sectors to promote sustainable development and generate equitable employment opportunities is attracting increasing attention on a global scale. An aspect of this is a set of UNESCO recommendations for measuring and gathering data on the economic contribution of the cultural industries. Let's have more of this report.
Through advertising, architecture, books, newspapers, magazines, video games and movies, as well as music, performing arts, radio, television and visual arts, the creative arts industry is one of the sectors that significantly contributes to the growth of Uganda's tourism industry on a global scale. The same industry continues to make a significant contribution to lowering Uganda's unemployment gap.
On the art and culture scene of Uganda for the past 20-25 years. Yes, so I weave between music, art, culture, theatre, cinema. I've been in all those spaces.
According to analytical projections, the economy receives an estimated Ugandan shillings 3.18 trillion in total company income from culture and creative arts. This income represented about 3% of Uganda's projected $4.43 billion total GDP in 2021. The government has pledged to encourage creative industries and culture.
We are now at the high apex level of legislation to ensure that the culture and creative industry have space and their artifacts are able to produce returns they are worth of. As we speak right now, we are interfacing with the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs actually this afternoon to ensure that the corporate law is enforced, is strengthened, and is reviewed. First of all, a conducive environment within which each one is able to participate and practice their cultural heritage without any interference. The presence and the preservation of the National Cultural Center, even during the rationalization, the National Cultural Center was intact, left behind because it has interest, the country has interest in protecting culture.
Uganda exports $239 million worth of creative products and services worth about shillings 427 billion. If the government, through the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Rural Development, committed a reasonable subvention to the creative industries, culture industries, this would be a miraculous impact on strengthening and organizing the sector for employment, job creation for Ugandans, especially the youth, both educated and non-educated, skilled and non-skilled. The creative arts industry of Uganda employs over 70% of Uganda's youth. Though government has not paid much needed attention to the potential that the arts industry can play in turning around this economy. Monica Nabyonga, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, thank you very much, Monica Nabyonga, for that one. Now, we switch our eyes to the coffee court. Our discussions in the coffee court tonight will look at the hotel industry. The hotel business in Uganda. This one has been struggling as well, part of the tourism sector, by the way. But however much it has been struggling, the proprietors of the hotels in Uganda have tried their level best to ensure that they recover off the losses they made during the pandemic. Meanwhile, our discussion looks at the challenges they are facing, but also looking at the future prospects of the entire sector, which regulations and what are the possible chances and what should the government do to enable this sector to grow bigger and better. Let's have this and more in our coffee court tonight.
Good evening and thank you for joining us on this coffee court where we ask the critical questions. And this time round, of course, we'll be spending more of our time digesting the implication of one of the sectors to the economy of Uganda, and that is none other than the hotel or the hospitality industry. And I'll be speaking to Jane Byamugisha, the Executive Director of the Uganda Hotel Owners Association. Thank you for joining us, Madam.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
How is the industry performing, first and foremost?
The industry is just getting out of the COVID pandemic, so we are now in the recovery session. As you know, for us, we were completely shut down for 2 years. Uganda had one of the longest lockdowns, and one of the most affected sectors was the tourism industry.
Okay.
And again, the hospitality industry is under tourism, so we were largely affected. We couldn't work. Most of our money comes in from the night economy. We didn't have many people coming through from the airports. We couldn't host functions. We couldn't host meetings at full capacity. So we were really, really grounded for over 2 years. This is an industry where the majority of our staff were laid off. The majority of our businesses were closed from 60% occupancy to 0% occupancy. So it is one now that with the opening of the economy in January this year, we can say that we have officially started working again in January this year, but we are still a long way from pre-COVID numbers in terms of business.
So to what extent have we recovered back to normality?
There was a study that was carried out by UNDP that actually showed that for the tourism industry, tourism and hospitality, we shall actually get back to operating at pre-COVID period, that is the 2019 numbers, in 2025. Because again, our industry is very fragile. We are still not yet sure about the other variants of COVID that will come up. We are hearing of the monkeypox. We are hearing of Ebola now we are seeing government asking people in Kasese to be careful because of Ebola in Congo. So we are not yet operating at 100% occupancy. I'll give an example. Many of the hotels closed, but many of these hotels are built using loans. Loans were not really structured during COVID, and yet there was no business to service these loans. So the businesses have opened, but they are not yet operating at full capacity because they are still trying to see how they can make enough money to start servicing the loans.
Now that drives me to what the status of the hotel industry is. Talk to us about this as an investment venture. If I want to invest money in this industry, what is it that I must have at the back of my mind?
First of all, for Uganda, right now, tourism before COVID, 2019, again, was the highest foreign exchange earner for this country.
Sure.
Tourism in Uganda, yes, I think we brought in $1.6 billion into the country, 2019. Of course, with COVID, then that figure went down, but it's growing up exponentially as we speak. Tourism is what, in my opinion, as somebody who has worked in this industry now for almost 10 years, it is one of the most profitable industries. But again, it requires a lot of initial capital in investment. That's why you see the majority of the hotels are built using loans. But in the long run, if you play the slow game, it is one of the most profitable industries. It provides employment, you earn in foreign exchange. Once somebody puts up a hotel in a village, then you open up that village to trade. The local farmer will get where to take their produce. The local person who sells soda, beverage, and alcoholic drinks will have where to put. Umeme will definitely be pulled to that place. National water will be pulled, and then the neighbors can tap. So it's one of those industries that has got a very long value chain that not only benefits the investor, but the surrounding communities as well, which in my opinion is a very good case for an investment opportunity.
So how much in particular, to be specific, how much do I need to start up?
It depends, really, it depends. Of course, somebody who is going to build a hotel in Kampala will require much more resources than somebody who is going to build, let's say, an eco-lodge in the national park. So it's all about doing your feasibility study and finding out, and exactly also identifying your niche. The problem is we wake up one day and you say, I have this huge house, all my kids have left, I want to turn it into a hotel. Okay. But you haven't segmented the kind of market you want. You haven't segmented the kind of even cuisine you're going to. And so people end up getting frustrated. But for those who already do their feasibility study and right from foundation level, know exactly what it is they are putting up. You know the kind of the hotel that you're putting up. Is this going to be a 2-star, 3-star? And that helps you in many ways. It helps you in marketing that hotel. It helps you in the pricing of that hotel. It even helps you in the recruitment of that hotel. You cannot put up a 5-star hotel and you don't have anybody with a degree. And yet, if you put up a 1-star hotel, you might not really need people with PhDs working for you. So it's all about somebody doing their research and a feasibility study. And once you get that right, then you can be able to see return on investment in a very short time.
So good enough you've mentioned about these hotels. Bring us to speed on what a one-star hotel it is. Second, third, fourth, and fifth. Anyway, and how different is the first star from the fifth?
Okay, I'm sure everybody in Uganda has at least stayed in a hotel, and
that's what you assume. It's an assumption.
It's an assumption. Yes, it is. You're right. It is an assumption. But everybody now, and again, for people like yourself who have traveled, you have been able to go to countries whereby they say this is a 5-star hotel, and from the look of the 5-star hotel, you have no doubt what to expect. If they bring you a soda and it is 20,000 shillings, you will not even complain, because that is what you expect when you go to a 5-star hotel. And that is what we have been doing. Now, we are currently reviewing the criteria, because when we started this criteria over 10 years ago, our industry was still very young. We had hotels which were just coming up, some were not up to scratch, some were assessed and they were even found that they were ungradable.
Okay.
And yet we have many people putting up hotels saying, I'm a 5-star hotel, which is illegal. You cannot advertise yourself as a star that you are not officially classified as having that star.
Okay.
So we are now going under the review of the grading and classification criteria that should clearly spell out, this is a 1-star, this is what you should have. Even you as a guest, when you go to a 1-star hotel, you should know what to expect. So for instance, you cannot go to a hotel that is being graded and classified as a 1-star and they're asking you to pay $200 a night. That is illegal.
To be too much.
That is too much.
So bring us to speed on what a 5-star hotel must have.
So
you assume that everybody knows what should be in the first star.
Every star rating has got different amenities that are basic standards. So for instance, a 5-star hotel, it must have a swimming pool. It must have gardens. The location is also very important. It must have certain amenities, the quality of the cutlery that you use, the quality, even the ambience, the lighting in that hotel has got to be very different. It has got to be more expensive, more upmarket, more classy than what you will find in the other star hotels.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do we have any 5-star hotel, 4-star, 3-star hotel?
Yes.
In Kampala, or we only have 1-star hotels?
In Uganda, we have officially graded 89 hotels, which are officially graded, out of which we have 5-star hotels. But this was according to the grading that we carried out almost 10 years ago.
Okay.
So maybe the status quo has changed, which is why now with the revision of the criteria, we are going to reassess each and every hotel in Uganda and make sure that maybe we have more 5-star hotels. Obviously, when we did this exercise almost 10 years ago, we only managed to get 5-star hotels. So it was Sheraton, it was Serena, it was Mbale Resort, it was the Speak Resort Munyonyo at the time. But now very many more hotels have come up. We are expecting to see many more 5-star hotels. We have got many international brand hotels coming up. You've seen the Hilton, there's a Marriott, you've seen Latitude, you've seen Onomo hotels. All those may actually fall into the 4- and 5-star categories.
So who certifies this? Who approves that your hotel qualifies?
The government of Uganda through the Ministry of Tourism under the Uganda Tourism Board, supported by the Uganda Hotel Owners Association as the private sector representative.
Okay.
Yes.
What is it that we're not doing well as a sector in Uganda?
Marketing is still a big challenge, especially if you compare it to our neighbors in Rwanda. I mean, Rwanda has just hosted CHOGM, and everything on social media you've been seeing on Twitter. And social media can be very brutal. So when you see people actually giving you kudos on social media, you know you've done something right, because the majority of people who go to social media sometimes just want to hate. But Rwanda pulled off an excellently organized CHOGM. Rwanda is hosting big international meetings almost every week. Kenya's marketing, I mean, it's something that we are always aspiring to be, but also it's because they have a bigger budget for marketing. So Uganda needs to invest more in marketing this country, because for people who have traveled, you realize that there is no country more beautiful than Uganda.
Sure.
Rwanda is marketing is a fraction of what we have as a country. They are just geniuses in how they do their marketing. But when you look at the product they have and the product we have as Uganda, when you look at what Kenya is doing and what we are actually capable of doing, you realize that really if we had the right resources and maybe the right people. We should get people who think outside the box.
Okay.
I think we are too conservative sometimes in the way we do things. Maybe we were brought up by our parents beating us and telling us, not to speak when elders are speaking. But we need to have those kinds of people who want to speak. People who want to see outside the box.
Okay.
Those kinds of brains are the ones that we'll need for marketing.
A couple of weeks ago, you put URA into a corner over exorbitant taxes, and
Yes.
your turn-up was overwhelming.
Yes.
Don't you want to pay tax as an industry?
No, obviously, we must pay taxes. This industry thrives on what we pay taxes for.
So why the lamentation?
Let me first answer that question so that we are not really caught wrong. This industry is one of the biggest beneficiaries of taxpayers. We need roads to be able to open up our tourism attraction areas. We are always complaining about the roads in Bwindi. Government cannot repair those roads without taxes. We were the people who pushed for the revival of the national airline. We were the people who said we would rather buy and not lease these jets. And so without taxes, we would not be able to do things like that. So as an industry, number one, we really do stand for tax compliance and tax payment for every business owner doing business.
Okay.
However, unfortunately, this is also an industry that is highly overtaxed. So I'll give an example. For a hotel to operate, you pay about 25 different types of taxes and licenses annually, many of which are actually duplicate each other. So you'll find that a hotel pays a hotel tax, but then also a hotel will pay for a swimming pool license, restaurant license, bar license. After paying for the bar license, you'll also pay for the liquor license. Why can't you condense all these taxes into 4 or 5, even if the money remains the same?
Some call that a license, not a tax.
But it's still something that you're going to have to pay. Yet, if you just said, if you're going to operate this establishment as a hotel and you classify it as a hotel, you will need to pay the hotel tax that includes all these licenses.
Okay.
So that you can have more compliance. This issue of having to pay all these small taxes in all these different offices, it's the one that leads people into not being compliant.
Okay.
So what we are saying is, absolutely, we want to pay taxes. Can these taxes be condensed so that it is much easier for people to be able to pay these taxes and to be compliant? But also, we always say that tourism is an industry that is, that is milked, but without feeding the cow. Tourism is an industry that brings in $1.6 billion. That is almost 7% of our GDP.
Okay.
But when you look at the national cake in terms of budget allocation, tourism gets less than 3%. So then how are you then expected to be able to work and have people pay when you're not investing back into the industry that is actually capable of giving you so much more? Even the $1.6 billion that we bring in, it's from trying to squeeze water out of a stone. Most of the work that is done in marketing is done by the private sector. It's the tour operators who go to all these countries looking for personal business, but you cannot look for personal business as a tour operator without talking about your country.
Okay.
The same market is going to be asking, is Uganda secure? Do you people have roads? How long will it take me to get to Uganda? And so as a tour operator, as a hotelier, when you're looking for business, you actually do market your country so that you can have either more investors looking to come through or more tourists, and that's bringing in more money for us. And we need government to start really investing heavily in the industry.
So your tourism industry doesn't even make $1 trillion. What is it that you think other countries are doing better that we are not doing as a country regarding the hospitality industry?
Like I said, other countries, number one, are putting their money where their mouth is. Other countries have seen that tourism is a cash cow, and so they put money in there. If you look at Kenya, for instance, they have over $20 million that they put just for marketing their country. Uganda, I think we only have about $5 million for that. So you will see then the difference in what that can do. Look at Rwanda, small as it is, they inject heavily. I mean, look at the deal with that football club. Was it Arsenal or something like that? Just putting Visit Rwanda on their wristbands. It has done wonders. During Chogam, we saw all these videos. I mean, even during the recent Kwitizina, we saw all these videos from Arsenal players learning Kinyarwanda, learning to speak the language. Those videos went viral. I'm not a football fan, but I saw those videos. And for anybody who is, abroad, those are our source markets. We are all competing for those markets. When Lewis Hamilton came to Africa, he went to see the gorillas in Rwanda. He went to Kenya. We have half the world's population of gorillas.
Okay.
But Rwanda, that has got a few, is marketing more than us. We should be the ones who should be getting these opportunities. But that requires investment, that requires funding, that requires lobbying, that requires having the right people in the right places, at the right time, striking hot irons. But
you seem to be suggesting that poor people cannot put their hands in such an industry.
Absolutely
like
not.
It's for the rich.
Most industries usually are, but also people think that for you to come into tourism, you must start big. Absolutely not. People have big chunks of land, in Kabale, with beautiful views, Lake Bunyonyi, land that has been given to you for inheritance. You can start small. You can start by setting it up as a campsite. You just put up a toilet and shower and say, I have camping gardens. People love going to sleep in the wild. And the money you start making from the camping site, put up a small restaurant. From there, then you realize, okay, there are some people who want to come, but they don't want to sleep in tents. Put up 2-3 rooms. So it's all about starting small, but you must have passion for the industry. This is not an industry where you just throw money at the problem and you expect it. No. It's a labor of love. You must be there. You must love what you do. You must be able to market yourself as the owner. So you must have investment in the industry in terms of knowledge, in terms of passion, in terms also of involvement. The architects are not going to tell you how you should do your property. It is you who travels and you say, I like the way I saw those cottages. And then you say, I want to do something like this. And then the architect will help make your dream come true, but the dream ultimately must be yours.
You've proudly said you employ a number of people. What are some of these critical positions that you think the hotel, the hospitality industry employs?
I'm proud to say that the hotel industry in particular employs more women than men. I think this is one of the few industries, I think second to agriculture, if I'm not mistaken, that employs more women than men. 58% of all the hotel staff in Uganda are actually female. This is also an industry that employs young people. 77% of all hotel staff in Uganda are between the ages of 18 and 30. Now, Uganda has a big youth unemployment problem. And this is an industry that is saying, for us, we want young people. We have a high absorption rate for young people.
Why young people?
It's a labor-intensive kind of industry. You and me are maybe getting too old to stand all day to go and carry all these heavy. We cannot clean 10 rooms in a day. So this is exactly, young people can. It's a labor-intensive, it's a hands-on industry. It's not a behind-the-desk kind of job. And so that's why we need more young people. The waiters and waitresses that you see, these are all young kids. If you're served by an old waiter, you'll also be like, oh, okay, that's something I haven't seen quite a lot. It needs young people who can run quickly, run from table to table, not forget orders, maybe don't even have problems yet that, keep their minds away from the job. Yeah.
Any regrets finally?
Regrets about?
That you think you must throw to government as an appeal?
As an appeal, absolutely. We definitely, I'm telling you, this is an industry where if the government heavily invested in this industry, they would have return on investment even in the next 5 years. Uganda is a beautiful country, but it is grossly undermarketed. It is still, that's also a good thing because, how many times can you go to Dubai? Dubai remains the same. It's a concrete jungle. But Uganda keeps changing. There's so many things to discover. So that means that people have been to Dubai, they've exhausted that. People have been to Europe, they've exhausted that. So they are looking for a new frontier. They are looking for the uncharted territories. And Uganda can market itself as that. We're the Pearl of Africa. Why are we the Pearl of Africa? Okay. Come find out why we're the Pearl of Africa.
Could that be your parting shot?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Jane Byamgisha, for
Thank you
speaking
so
to
much.
us. And of course, matters of the hospitality industry continues. This is the Coffee Court. My name is Fred Makubia. We dedicate ourselves to driving your business.
many thanks for being part of Business Today, and thank you very much for being part of us as well. We've been coming to you live from plot 42 Nile Avenue. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko with Winnie Buyinze Nakauchi on Sign Language. Have a blessed night. Good evening.